5. Amelita Golly Kersey. Self-teaching the great essential. No singer can rise to any distinction without the severest kind of self-discipline and hard work. This is the testimony of all the great vocalists of our time, of any time. This is the message they send back from the mountaintop of victory to the younger ones who are striving to acquire the mastery they have achieved. Work, work, and again, work. And if you have gained even a slight foothold on the hill of fame, then work to keep your place. Above all, be not satisfied with your present progress. Strive for more perfection. There are heights you have not gained. Higher up. There are joys for you. Higher up, if you will but labor to reach them. Perhaps there is no singer who more thoroughly believes in the gospel of work, and surely not one who more consistently practices what she preaches, than Amelita Golly Kersey. She knows the value of work, and she loves it for its own sake. There is no long cessation for her, during summer months, to rest her voice. There is no half-day seclusion after a performance, to recover from the fatigue of singing a role the night before. No, for her this event does not spell exhaustion but happiness, exhilaration. It is a pleasure to sing because it is not wearisome, it is a part of herself. And she enjoys the doing. Thus it happens that the morning after a performance, she is up and abroad betimes, ready to attend personally to the many calls upon her time and attention. She can use her speaking voice without fear, because she has never done anything to strain it. She is usually strong and well, buoyant and bright. Those soft, dark eyes are wells of intelligent thinking. The mouth smiles engagingly as she speaks. The slight figure is full of life and energy. Yet there is a deep sense of calm in her presence. A brave, bright spirit. A great, wonderful artist. These thoughts faintly glimpse my first impression of Madame Golly Kersey as she entered her big, sunny parlor, where I was waiting to see her. Her delicate, oval face was aglow with the flush of healthful exercise, for she had just come in from a shopping expedition and the wintry air was keen. "I love to go shopping," she explained, "so I always do it myself." She bade me sit beside her on a comfortable divan, and at once began to speak of the things I most wished to hear. "I am often asked," she began, "to describe how I create this or that effect, how I produce such and such tones, how I make the voice float to the farthest corner, and so on. I answer, that is my secret. In reality, it is no secret at all, at least not to anyone who has solved the problem. Anyone possessing a voice and intelligence can acquire these things, who knows how to go to work to get them. But if one has no notion of the process, no amount of mere talking will make it plain. Singing an opera role seems such an easy thing from the other side of the footlights. People seem to think, if you only know how to sing, it is perfectly natural and easy for you to impersonate a great lyric role. And the more mastery you have, the easier they think it is to do it. The real truth of the matter is that it requires years and years of study, constant study, to learn how to sing before attempting a big part in opera. There are so many organs of the body that are concerned in the process of breathing and tone production, and most of these organs must be, if not always, yet much of the time, relaxed and in an easy, pliable condition when you sing. There is the diaphragm, then the throat, larynx, the lungs, nose, lips, all of them help to make the tone. Perhaps I might say the larynx is the most important factor of all. If you can manage that, you have the secret. But no human being can tell you exactly how to do it. Some singers before the public today have no notion of how to manage this portion of their anatomy. Others may do so occasionally, but it may only be by accident. They sometimes stumble upon the principle, but not understanding how they did so, they cannot reproduce the desired effects at will. The singer who understands her business must know just how she produces tones and vocal effects. She can then do them at all times, under adverse circumstances, even when nervous, or not in the mood, or indisposed. Self-study. How did I learn to know these things? By constant study, by constant listening, for I have very keen ears, by learning the sensations produced in throat and larynx when I made tones that were correctly placed, were pleasing, and at the same time made the effects I was seeking. Milan is my home city, beautiful Milano under the blue Italian skies, the bluest in the world. As a young girl, the daughter of well-to-do parents, I studied piano at the Royal Conservatory there, and also musical theory and counterpoint. I shall ever be grateful I started in this way, with a thorough musical foundation, for it has always been of great advantage to me in further study. When my father met with reverses, I made good use of my pianistic training by giving piano lessons and making a very fair income for a young girl. But I long to sing. Is it not the birthright of every Italian to have a voice? I began to realize I had a voice which might be cultivated. I had always sung a little. Everyone does. Song is the natural, spontaneous expression of our people. But I wished to do more, to express myself in song. So I began to teach myself by singing scales and vocalizes between my piano lessons. Meanwhile, I studied all the books on singing I could lay hands on, and then tried to put the principles I learned in this way in practice. In trying to do this, I had to find out everything for myself. And that is why I know them. I know exactly what I am about when I sing. I know what muscles are being used, and in what condition they ought to be, what parts of the anatomy are called into action, and why. Nature has given me two great gifts, of voice and good health. For both these gifts I am deeply grateful. The first I have developed through arduous toil. The second I endeavor to preserve through careful living, regular hours, and plenty of exercise in the fresh air. I have developed the voice and trained it in the way that seemed to me best for it. There are as many kinds of voices as there are persons. It seems to me each voice should be treated in the way best suited to its possessor. How can any other person tell you how that should be done? And the singer gave me a bright look and made a pretty deprecating gesture. You yourself must have the intelligence to understand your own case and learn how to treat it. Never strain the voice. A singer who would keep her voice in the best condition should constantly and reasonably exercise it. I always do a half hour or so of exercises, vocalizes, and scales every morning. These are never neglected. But I never do anything to strain the voice in any way. We are told many fallacies by vocal teachers. One is that the diaphragm must be held firmly in order to give support to the tone. It seems to me this is a serious mistake. I keep the diaphragm relaxed. Thus, tone production, in my case, is made at all times with ease. There is never any strain. You ask if it is not very fatiguing to sing against a large orchestra, as we have to, and with a temperamental conductor, like Marinuzzi, for instance. I do not find it so. There is a pure, clear tone, which by its quality, placement, and ease of production, will carry farther than mere power ever can. It can be heard above a great orchestra, and it gets over. Use of the vowels. Young singers ask me what vowels to use in vocal practice. In my own study, I use them all. Of course, some are more valuable than others. The O is good, the E needs great care, the A is the most difficult of all. I am aware this is contrary to the general idea, but I maintain that the A is most difficult, for if you overdo it and the lips are too wide apart, the result is a white tone. And on the other hand, if the lips are nearer or too near together, or are not managed rightly, stiffness or a throaty quality is apt to result, then the tone cannot float. I have found the best way is to use the mixed vowels, one melting into the other. The tone can be started with each vowel in turn, and then mingled with the rest of the vowels. Do you know, the feathered songster I love best, the nightingale, uses the mixed vowels too. How much I have learned from him and from other birds also. Some of them have harsh tones, real quacks, because they open their bills too far or in a special way. But the nightingale has such a lovely dark tone, a covered tone, which goes to the heart. It has the most exquisite quality in the world. I have learned much from the birds, about what not to do and what to do. Memorizing. In taking up a new role, I begin with the story, the libretto, so I may first learn what it is about, its meaning and psychology. I take it to bed with me, or have it by me if lying down, because I understand musical composition and can get a clear idea of the composer's meaning without going to the instrument. After a short time, I begin to work it out at the piano, in detail, words and music together. For a great role like the Somnambula or Traviata, I must spend 3 or 4 years, perhaps more, in preparation, before bringing it to public performance. It takes a long time to master thoroughly an operatic role, to work it out from all sides, the singing, the acting, the characterization. To the lay mind, if you can sing, you can easily act a part and also memorize it. They little know the labor which must be bestowed on that same role before it can be presented in such a shape as to be adequate, in a way that will get it across. It does not go in a few weeks or even months. It is the work of years. And even then it is never really finished, for it can always be improved with more study, with more care and thought. The necessity for languages. We hear much about need for study of languages by the singer, and indeed too much stress cannot be placed on this branch of the work. I realize that in America it is perhaps more difficult to impress people with this necessity, as they have not the same need to use other languages in everyday life. The singer can always be considered fortunate who has been brought up from earliest years to more than one language. My mother was Spanish, my father Italian, so this gave me both languages at home. Then in school I learned French, German, and English, not only a little smattering of each, but how to write and speak them. You certainly have mastered English remarkably well, I could not help remarking, for she was speaking with great fluency and with hardly any accent. This seemed to please her, for she gave me one of those flashing smiles. Coloratura and dramatic. Would you be pleased, I asked, if later on your voice should develop into a dramatic soprano? Madame Galli-Curci thought an instant. No, she said, I think I would rather keep the voice I have. I heartily admire the dramatic voice and the roles it can sing. Riis's voice is for me the most beautiful I know. But after all I think for myself, I prefer the lyric and coloratura parts. They are so beautiful. The old Italian composers knew well how to write for the voice. Their music has beauty, it has melody, and melodic beauty will always make its appeal. And the older Italian music is built up not only of melody and fioriture, but is also dramatic. For these qualities can combine, and do so in the last act of Traviata, which is so full of deep feeling and pathos. Breath control. Perhaps, in vocal mastery, the greatest factor of all is the breathing. To control the breath is what each student is striving to learn, what every singer endeavors to perfect, what every artist should master. It is an almost endless study and an individual one, because each organism and mentality is different. Here, as in everything else, perfect ease and naturalness are to be maintained. If the divine song, which is the singer's concept of beauty, is to be floated on the breath, and its merest whisper heard to the farthest corner of the gallery. The matter in a nutshell. To sum up then, the 3 requirements of vocal mastery are A. Management of the larynx. B. Relaxation of the diaphragm. C. Control of the breath. To these might be added a 4th, mixed vowels. But when all these are mastered, what then? So much more it can never be put into words. It is self-expression through the medium of tone, for tone must always be a vital part of the singer's individuality, colored by feeling and emotion. Tone is the outlet, the expression of all one has felt, suffered, and enjoyed. To perfect one's own instrument, one's medium of expression must always be the singer's joy and satisfaction. And you will surely rest when the arduous season is over? Yes, I will rest when the summer comes and will return to Italy this year. But even though I seem to rest, I never neglect my vocal practice. That duty and pleasure is always performed. And with a charming smile and clasp of the hand, she said adieu.